The last and only defense against the ongoing Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico is tiny billions of hydrocarbon-chewing microbes. In fact, the primary motive for using more than 830,000 gallons of chemical dispersants on the oil slick, both above and below the surface of the sea, is to break the oil into smaller droplets that bacteria can more easily consume. Alas, if there was only a super high efficient microorganism available that could do the job much faster and more efficiently. Just a few more dots to connect, and you'll start to see the picture. Let's talk about the dispersant factor. It's been puzzling to understand why BP has chosen to continually spray dispersants such as Corexit from airplanes and boats day and night since early May 2010. The spraying hasn't just been over the Gulf, but along the coastlines as well. And while it's claimed that Corexit disperses oil by breaking it into smaller pieces, can this be the only reason for all this spraying? In recent tests of rainwater originating from the Gulf of Mexico, natural mineral elements such as copper and iron were found along with nickel, aluminum, and manganese. Now that's very unusual for rain clouds originating from a saline ocean. The only logical explanation is that these elements were introduced to the Gulf water where they were drawn up by the rain clouds. The only way that could have happened is from aerial and surface spraying and or below surface injection. Are these ingredients of Corexit the dispersant? Well, not according to Nalco, the manufacturer. So then these natural earth elements must have been added to what's being sprayed along with the Corexit. But why? What benefit is there to add elements like copper or iron to seawater? After all, these are natural elements and nutrients you'd add to your garden to make your plants grow. So why add them to the seawater? Bacteria thrive in rich nutrient environments. Natural minerals are necessary building blocks for the nutrients that bacteria thrive on. Think of it as hydrofertilizing the Gulf to make it a better nutritional medium for real hungry oil-eating bacteria. The so-called dispersants are not only breaking down the crude oil into smaller particles, they're adding needed enhancement minerals so that the bacterium can multiply more rapidly and eat up the oil faster. Such bacteria are called bioremediators. Now, you know, some more dots are forming and the picture's getting a little bit larger. We're getting close. Let's discuss why Cynthia has a cousin. The only ingredient missing is a new and previously unknown genus of hydrocarbon-eating bacteria that can survive cold water depths, where the lakes of oil and tar now sit, so that it could degrade it faster than any known natural bacterias. In a paper published in the journal Science, Terry Hazen and his colleagues at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory discovered in late May through early June 2010 that a previously unknown species of cold water hydrocarbon-eating bacteria have been feasting on the underwater oil plumes, degrading them at accelerated rates. We can now understand why on May 15th, BP Synthetic Genomes CEO Craig Venter hinted of a new hydrocarbon-eating synthetic genome. Prior to that date, JCVI had already applied for numerous additional patents, and we were able to find 7 of them, regarding synthetic bioremediation, such as bacteria synthetic genomes, which provide unique DNA information required for replication of a free living organism. Well, in layman terms, this means that BP and synthetic genome scientists had already created self-replicating bacteria, or self-reproducing bacteria, wherein the assembled DNA molecule is a synthetic genome. And that was back in 2007. You know, just a few more connecting dots and we might be able to see the picture. Hurricanes and genome vaccines. Let's talk about that. As I stated on WVP Radio during our premiere broadcast in August, there won't be any hurricanes entering into the Gulf of Mexico this year. There haven't been, and there won't be. Otherwise, both the hurricanes and the altered jet stream will send the synthetic bacteria all around the world. They have to isolate their biologically created nightmare until they can either find a way to control it or create a synthetic genome microbial vaccine to neutralize its effects. Could that have been their plan all along? On October 7th, 2010, Synthetic Genomics, the BP Equity Investment Company, and JCVI announced the formation of a new company named Synthetic Genomics Vaccines Incorporated. This privately held company will focus on developing the next generation of vaccines using JCVI's genomic sequencing and synthetic genomic expertise, coupled with the intellectual property and business of synthetic genomics, and that will significantly advance and enhance vaccine development. Now, how amazing that the BP Synthetic Genomics Alliance now has its own vaccine company for patented or patent-pending immunizations. But at what cost to humanity? It's convenient and very profitable to not only create synthetic bacteria, but to also offer a vaccine in case there are any problems. When you create the bacteria and control its DNA, you also know how to shut it down. Definitely, BP is beyond petroleum. According to Fernanda Gandara, the president of this new company, we are excited to apply our advanced synthetic genomic technologies to revolutionize vaccine production. Yes, Fernanda, I'm sure you and BP are. But what are the human effects? Synthetic biology is a high-risk, profit-driven field, building organisms out of parts that are still poorly understood. We know that lab-created life forms can escape, become biological weapons, and that their use threatens existing natural biodiversity. But most worrying of all, Craig Venter is handing this powerful technology to the world's most irresponsible and environmentally damaging industry by partnering with the likes of BP and even Exxon to hasten the commercialization of synthetic life forms. Now we have scientific confirmation of, quote, a previously unknown species of cold water hydrocarbon-eating bacteria, end quote, and they're gobbling up the oil in the Gulf. Nothing is known about how this new synthetic bioremediation bacterium that's now in the Gulf reacts with mankind. This is virgin and uncharted territory. We already know how sea mammals such as whales and porpoises have reacted. Those who haven't escaped the affected areas of the Gulf have died, along with all other marine life and coastal vegetation. While human health effects from crude oil exposure are very well known, the effects of dispersants containing oil-eating artificial bacteria are not known. It's never been done before, let alone at the immense scale of operations now taking place. There's a reason the so-called dispersants are guarded by weapon-yielding soldiers and local armed law enforcement in the warehouses and deployment yards along the Gulf Coast. If a sample were to be analyzed by knowledgeable people, the biological and chemical anomalies it contains would be made public, right down to the unique signature. BP keeps allowing their Sorcerer's Brew to be called Corexit in order to hide the fact that it's not just the name brand product any longer. Perhaps that's because Craig Venter's research boat is named Sorcerer 2. The physical symptoms of the BP flu, BP crud, blue flu, or whatever name you choose to call it, are as unique as the synthetic bacteria being used in the Gulf of Mexico. Since mankind is carbon-based, how did these synthetically created hydrogen and carbon-hungry bacteria react to human flesh? Well, internal bleeding as well as ulcerating skin lesions are physical signs of their computer-created DNA signature. BP and their paid minions have released a synthetic biological plague in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's out of control. The entire world is a victim of their greed and their foolishness. By playing the role of creator, they've begun a very dangerous game with infinite repercussions for life as we know it. Those who have permitted and agreed to this cover-up are just as responsible as BP. The corporate people are proud to let everybody know they're beyond petroleum. Those of us living on the Gulf Coast must demand from every politician and every government agency from the national right down to the local level a full explanation as to why they allowed this to happen and why they are allowing it to continue. They're all responsible for lying to us and covering up the truth. Have you connected all the dots yet? Do you see the complete picture yet? The Gulf Blue Plague has evolved.